Hello, whistleblowers everywhere. Today's tune breakdown is a little bit different. A few months ago, a chap called Mike Pont, who is a member of the Whistle Boards and a very fine whistle player and a member of a group called Glassdoor, um, came across an idea which I thought was great, which was everybody can contribute to compose a jig. And so this turned out to be a four-part jig. We had quite a number of people involved in composing, and basically everybody had two bars. Now, some people took more than one go, so they might have had two bars on the A part and maybe two bars on the C part, or two bars on the D part, and some people maybe only just contributed two bars. It was really up to their comfort level as to how much they wanted to contribute. But this has turned out to be a lovely jig. And so everybody contributed to it. And it turned out really well, actually. So it's a four-part jig. We've got A, B, C, and D. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to play a very basic version of it with just some cuts and maybe a tap or two to separate notes which are the same. And then we can have a look at how we can adapt it and maybe add some ornamentation and even some variation should you choose to. But to be honest with you, play it whichever way you like. And if you like to play it the basic way and with very little in the way of ornamentation, then that's absolutely fine. It stands up well to playing just as a simple tune itself. But anyway, this tune was titled the Seven Nations Jig because seven nations were involved, and the composers were Mike Pont, Angelo, Jim Music, myself, Ben Walker, Ellie West, Alexandra Hoffman, Chris Keelyside, or Keenlyside, sorry, Joe Weeks, Sarah Roberts, Tosia Berta, Dave Moore, Heather Jane Oakley, Sarah Ann Lewin Windsor, and Marta Tanrikulu. Probably not pronouncing your names right, so please forgive me if I've mispronounced your names, but I'm just going off the spelling that I've got here on the music that Mike sent me. So without further ado, I'm going to play through nice and steadily at 60 beats. I'm going to play through each part, and we're not going to put, as I said, no ornamentation other than maybe separating the notes which are the same with cuts or maybe a tap or two. So here we go, the Seven Nations Jig. So I've set my click to 60, which is a nice steady pace, and I'll just play it through as it is with the repeats. So each section is repeated twice, A, B, C, and D. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. So that was the full tune, and I played that at 60 beats a minute, nice and steady. So one of the problems when you're playing a tune like this is to find a place to breathe. And there are times when you have to make alterations, and you'll find, because it's all running quavers or running eighth notes throughout, certainly in the A part and the B part, there's not that many places you can get a breath. So what we have to do is to make slight adjustments. So this is what I do for the A part. So there on bar 6, that's the second bar on the second line, I dropped the first D in the group of 3 at the end of that bar. So from bar 5, now in that space I took a breath, and when you're doing that you've got to make sure that your breath doesn't take too long, because if it does you're going to knock the beat out of time. So it's really important that you time your breath only in that space. Yep, you can't take too long about it. So that's where I would breathe, and I'd maybe take a breath there. So I drop that last D. So and so on those 2 Gs, cut the first and then tap the second. So let me play that through. And that's a good breathing place to get to. Now, if for whatever reason you can't get to where I took a breath, then you're going to need to find a suitable place to grab a breath. Now, when you play this up to speed or a bit quicker, then your breathing will change, and I'll probably be able to get through the first 2 lines at a sort of fairly rapid jig tempo, something like this. So that speed, I don't need to get a breath in anywhere except for the end of that second line where I just drop that last D there. But for now, and if you want to play it slower, you're going to have to find a place for you to breathe. Now, dropping that first D in bar 6 and the last D in the 8th bar at the end of the second line, that works well for me. But if you're struggling to get there, then you may have to drop another note. So the rule is, if you need to drop a note, make sure the note that you're dropping isn't on a strong beat. Yeah, it's better to drop a note, and don't drop the note of the first beat of the bar, because that's a very strong note and it will sound like you've left a big hole there. So you've got to try and make what's written suit your whistle playing style and your breath capacity, and also your whistle, because if you've got a rather air hungry whistle, you obviously will need to breathe more, and again, if you're playing it on a low whistle, you may need to breathe more as well. And again, if you're playing it slower, at say like at 60, then you will need to breathe more. So it's all about learning to incorporate your breathing. What you don't want to do is to try and snatch a breath which isn't functional, say at the end of each line or at the end of a phrase, or when you run out of air. Yeah, because you're not going to get a functional breath, and that way you're going to have to just breathe a lot more, and it's going to sound very choppy. So yeah, so figure out where you're going to breathe at the slower tempo, and then when you're playing it faster, or when you've got more confidence and more facility on this tune, then you can reassess your breathing points and then make adjustments that you don't need to breathe as much. Okay, so that's the A part. The B part. So let's have a look where we can breathe on that. So I need to take a breath there. So I'm not going to squeeze a breath at the end of the A there. So what I'm going to go... So there in the last bar on the third line, which is bar 9, 10, 11, bar 12, I've dropped the first D and then come in. So E, don't play the second D, take a breath, and then come in with this with the next D. So, and that way you're dropping a note on a weak beat, and also it sounds like you can continue. It doesn't sound like there's a big hole there. Yeah. So. And again. And then now I think I'm going to need to take at that speed possibly another breath. So let's try the whole of the B part and see where we can get another breath in. Now I can get to the end of that phrase, drop the last G, and then that's a good breathing point for me. So on that B section, all I'm doing is dropping the first D in bar 12. Then I continue all the way from bar 13 all the way through and then drop that last note for a breath. So this is how it will sound. So again, if that doesn't work for you, if you need to breathe more, then think about a suitable note which you can drop for a breath. You've no other options here. You've got to do that. There are no longer notes apart from that G at the end of bar 16. So in bar 15, we've got 3 E's together. So what I do is to play the first, cut the second, tap the third. So essentially I'm doing a long roll. So from bar 13. Now you can tongue them, you could go, but I think that sounds a little bit cumbersome. And I would play the first one, cut the second one and tap the third. So essentially you're doing a long roll. So you're going, and then I'm dropping that G to get a breath. So I'm going to play the whole of that B part again. So that's the B part. Let's have a look at the C part now. And again, the same thing. We have to find where we can get a breathing point. Now in bar 21, we've got an eighth note or a quaver rest. So that's a built-in breathing point, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's see if we can get to that at bar 21. So from C from bar 17. So I can quite comfortably get to it at that speed. However, I am going to need to breathe again. So what I suggest we do is look at that last bar on bar 21, 22, 23, bar 24. So we can go. So let's see how we can use those last two bars and where we can get a breathing point to bring us back to do the repeat. So you could drop the G. What we don't want to do is to snatch a breath at the end of the line, go back, because we haven't had time to get a decent breath, and then it knocks your breathing all over the place. So let's have a look at that C part again and see if that works. Now, if you're struggling with a breath in that space, if you can't get to the end of that, then again, figure out where's going to work best for you, but always have that rule that you don't want to breathe on drop a note which is a strong beat. Otherwise, it's going to sound like there's a big hole missing in the piece, and we don't want that. We want it to be able to flow. Right, so we're on for the last bit now, the D part. So again, let's figure out how we can breathe on that. So what I would do is just play that as a long D at the end. Now we've got 3 Ds there, so you could do a double cut, or you could do another ornament called a crown, but let's not worry about that on this version. Yeah. However, I'd be inclined to play that as a long D, so it would basically be a quarter note or a crotchet D, and then where that 3rd D is, I would use that as a breath. And then that breath should be able to take you to the end, yeah? So let's try that. And then at the end you can take a breath. Yeah, so those 2 little 16th notes, you might want to miss those out. That's in bar 25, 26, bar 27. You might want to miss that out and just play that as a single B, yeah? So I would just play that as... and then come in. So let's play the whole of that D part now, with the breathing that I suggested. Okay, so let's play it all the way through now with the breathing. So I'm going to basically make the breathing obvious to you, yeah? So play it through as written. So that's how I would approach the breathing on this. Again, we're going to have to make certain compromises in so much as that we're going to have to make adaptations to get the breathing in. And again, when I play this at full tilt at the end, you will see that my breathing is different from what it is there. And again, it's about making those amendments, making those changes on the fly, sometimes as you're playing it. And it helps to know the tune really well. So then you're not trying to shoehorn a breath in at an inappropriate place, but you're prepared and you're ready. Take a breath, and it's got to be a functional breath. No point just snatching a quick little breath, and then you're going to have to take a breath the next bar and the next bar, and it's going to sound really choppy. So think about your breathing, think about what works best for you, and try different ideas out regarding your breathing. And as I said, it will all change if you're playing it quicker or slower. This is something which every whistle player has to get used to, deciding where they're going to breathe without it affecting the piece unduly, and that is an art in itself. Okay, so let's have a look at adding some ornamentation, some variation, and there's lots of scope on this, so let's have a look at that now. Okay, let's add some ornaments and see how that works out. So what I'll do is I'll play the A part first as written, and I'll show you what I can try and put in terms of ornaments. We're not going to go mad. We'll just put a few in. So here we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with a short roll on those. Instead of playing the two Bs, I'm going to go. So cut, tap, A, G, A, B. And again, separating the two Ds with a cut. Putting a cut on the G as well, so you can add some cuts as well, not just to separate the notes which are the same, but to add a little accent to a certain note. So now on the third bar we've got the two A's, and again we can do a short roll. So I cut the B and the last G in that fourth bar. So short roll A. So let's try the whole of the first line with the short rolls and the cuts. I'll do it really slowly. So what we have on bar 5, so I'm going to turn the B, A, B into a long roll on the B. And then just drop that first B because it's a breath. And the two Gs, I'm going to cut the first one and tap the second one. So essentially I'm doing a short roll, dropping that last D so I can get a breath in there. Okay, so let me play the whole of the A section with the ornaments. So it's nice on that bar 7, that high G, to get a cut on that. And then on the last bar of the second line, I like to cut the G. So let me do it slower. So the B part, so we've got G, F sharp, G. So as written, now you can add some cuts if you like. You can go, so I'm cutting the first G and then I'm cutting the second G as well. So you're going cut, F sharp, cut. Now the other thing you can do, of course, is turn the G, F, G in bar 9 and bar 10 into long rolls. So you can go putting a cut on that high B. So that's an idea. Let's have a look at the next two bars. So we can go. So what I'm doing is cutting the high A, dropping that first D because we need a breath. So bar 13 and 14, we've got a nice descending pattern, which works like this. And it sounds great if you put a cut on the first beat of each of those groups of 3. So the other thing you could do, long roll B, long roll A, long roll G, long roll F sharp, just as a variation. So the first time you could go, and the second time you could go, So the B part, first time I'll play it with the cuts from bar 13, then I'll play it with the rolls, just to show you how that works. Of course, when you do it up to speed, it sounds wonderful. So the C part, so again, where we've got the B, A, B, yeah? So we can do, again, we can cut the Bs, or we could do a long roll on the B. So on that bar 18, I'm cutting the G, and then I'm cutting that last E. So we can do this 17 and 18. Or we could do it as a long roll. So bar 19 and bar 20. So we've got those repeating figures. Da 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 da. So I'd be tempted to just turn those into long rolls. And with that B, that's up to you. You can play what's written, or I would just be tempted to play it as a. So bars 19 and 20. Or if you want to be adventurous, you can even do the double tap roll, long rolls on the F and the G. Or bar 21, so again we can long roll that or play it as or then we've got the rest where we can take a breath. Bar 22. Or we could long roll the B. So we could go 21 and 22. And then the last two bars, 23 and 24. So I'd be inclined to cut that high B, and then the last bar, probably just add a cut to that last E to separate it. So let's play the C part. I'll play it with the cuts, and then I'll play it with the long rolls, yeah? Now with the rolls. So there's a few ideas there. There's loads of other things you can do, but at speed it sounds lovely when you roll those. last part, again, we've got the B, A, B. So we can, again, just play that as written. And again, separate those two E's with a cut. However, what I'm going to do is long roll the B, short roll the E. Now that's awkward to get the cut in from the B up to the E. So if you like, you can just put a little tap to separate that E. So I'm going. Now you can roll the A in bar 26. So put those 25 and 26 together with the rolls. Now if you want, you could long roll each one of those. You're making a bit of a variation here. But it sounds nice. So what's written? A variation. And again, you can put a cran on the end of that D if you want. I'm not going to go into crans. Lots and lots of practice required to get them cleanly. But you can either cran it or put a long cran on it, or just play it as a plain D. However, just play it plain as a long D. It's absolutely fine. So, or. So on bar 29, we got the G-A-G figure. Now again, you can put that with cuts in. I like to long roll it. And maybe put a tap on that E. Again, it's awkward to go from the long roll to the E short roll. It's possible, but you're going to have to tongue it. So you'd have to go. So bar 30. You can cut the B's. Or long roll. So 29 and 30. And then the last two bars. And again, leave yourself a space to get a breath, so you're going to repeat or go back to the beginning if you're playing it more than once. So I like to cut the high B and the high A. Okay, so let me get my metronome going. At 60, now I'm going to play this through with the ornaments at 60, so it's fairly steady. And again, watch for your breathing spaces, yeah? Try not to get them in the wrong places so that you're not getting an effective breath. It's all about making it flow. So here we go. 2, 1, 2. So have a go at trying some of those variations out. Have a go at trying some of the rolls or the cuts or whatever. You may even come up with some of your own variations, which is great, and that's what the music's about. Make it suit you, make it suit your breathing, make it suit your ornamentation, and just have fun playing it. And as ever, if you found this useful or helpful in any way, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. If you want to hit the like button, any comments, anything you want to ask me, just leave a comment in the comments section. Happy to get suggestions for future tune breakdowns, or if anyone has any ideas for future tutorials, I'd love to hear them. So that's it, folks. I'm just going to leave you with the Seven Nations jig. I'll just play it for you.